Yeah, and that shows the importance of scouting. But I think also you can at least make the argument that BoxeR would have known that something was up just by the fact that there weren't more ground units to defend that front. He might have
Sure.
suspected raids. He might have suspected some other weird thing, but Tossgirl did definitely confirm that fact for BoxeR, without BoxeR really having to do any work for it.
Right, exactly.
Cloak for both players now, so we're going to see a lot of scanning and heavy Wraith micro. This should be a joy to watch.
Yeah, this is going to be intense. Oh, looks like Tossgirl is getting housed though. It looks like she just lost 2 races, and that is a significant deal. The BoxeR managing to claim air superiority despite having being down a starport is just kind of impressive.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see BoxeR winning these skirmishes either through ingenious micro of his own or through little slip-ups of Tossgirl, as the case may be. But I don't know if BoxeR is going to consistently be able to win these air skirmishes with fewer starports. Eventually, if Tossgirl does continue committing to raids, she will have control of the air. But if she overcommits to raids, then she's going to be too weak on the ground. And now here comes BoxeR with some harassment of his own.
Yeah, and he's actually in Tossgirl's base and affecting quite a bit of damage, and it looks like she's going to lose all of her race, and that is horrible. I have to place her at a significant disadvantage at this point, not only because of the fact that she's continuing to lose all these units, but also the fact that BoxeR, putting down that expansion allowed him to get an additional scan. He's going to have that scan up soon, and that's really going to neutralize Tossgirl's cloaking ability, whereas she doesn't have the additional scan yet of her own, as she's just moving her command center into place at this point.
Yeah, I don't think her comsat station is going to be all that far behind. But now BoxeR is going more tank heavy, and yeah, with Goliaths to support and additional factories going up, if Tossgirl isn't going to be able to equalize in terms of ground production, then the raids aren't even going to matter that much, especially with their numbers thinned out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like BoxeR's actually going to press out a little bit here on the map, and he's got a superior tank count. So we're going to see really what type of micro that Tossgirl is going to be able to bring to the fore. She loses a tank right away in the skirmish, and is actually in the process of bringing out tons of SCVs. Not entirely sure. Oh, but BoxeR does lose a tank in the process, so that we're successful in defending this for the time being.
Yeah, I think those SCVs were to basically get in the way and prevent BoxeR's tanks from advancing into range of that tank. Now BoxeR's got 2 raids picking at that tank anyway. This has been a really neat game to watch, with all these dogfights and small army skirmishes. It's a real contrast to that last game we saw between Anytime and Reach. The variety has been really neat to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing actually a lot of contests of micro, as opposed to where the last game that we watched was a very intensive macro battle. I feel as though we're seeing a lot more intricate play from Tossgirl and BoxeR, and obviously in a situation like this, I would have to favor BoxeR in terms of just his mechanicals and his micro skill. And I think that's what's playing out as this game progresses. Just if we're going to play a micro game, you obviously would have to hand the advantage to BoxeR.
I'd have to agree, though. I have to say, so far, I think Tossgirl's micro hasn't been all that suspect. I think a couple of her decisions have been a little bit dubious, but I think her micromanagement has, for the most part, been pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has not been, it hasn't been the thing that you were going to critique. If you were going to critique anything, I would agree that you'd have to, the decision making, a 2-port Wraith build, against TVT, against BoxeR does, that's obviously something that you can question. But at this point, it looks like, yeah, I was about to say we're commenting on that, but at the same time, BoxeR was just cleaning up Tossgirl's expansion, and she was just so unit shy. That he just kind of overran her by outproducing. You put up all those factories and still had that air superiority again, despite the fact that Tossgirl had gone through the dual starports. So yeah, BoxeR just kind of handling business.
Yeah, and Tossgirl going for the handshake. I thought she had just bolted off stage so quickly there, but yeah, BoxeR with some really impressive play. He's moved to 3-0 in this tournament, and it's definitely enough to make you wonder if he's back. And I don't think that Tossgirl should be all that disappointed about the game she played. Obviously, you know, she came into this wanting to beat BoxeR. She hasn't beaten him yet in her career, but I think, you know, she played a good game, even given the risky strategy that she took. The fact that the risk didn't pay off, I don't think suggests that she played it all that terribly. Again, there were a couple of suspect decisions, but it was not terrible play.
Certainly, I agree with that. I think that really where it all fell down for her was the fact that early on, like you mentioned, she revealed her strategy to BoxeR, and that's just not something that anybody can afford to do. You give BoxeR information without him having to work for it, and he's going to come up with the necessary counter. And again, he managed to do so. To maintain air superiority throughout that entire game with a one less production facility for air, which is just kind of a testament to the skill that dude can bring at any given time.
Yeah, and you can contrast the way that each player found out about the raids. BoxeR found out about the raids because Tossgirl was forced to use them in defense. Tossgirl found out about the raids because they showed up at her base and started killing things. BoxeR had managed to keep that starport hidden,
Yeah.
I think, pretty much throughout the entire game.
Right. Which is another. I mean, that's just the BoxeR-esque play. The intelligence behind his the way he used his single starport, and didn't even really conduct any real business with it until his cloak was done. He managed to get that starport and the control tower and to get his research done. And very, very soon into the time that we saw his race actually engaging, he was able to cloak and start making use of that ability, which really became the key to him maintaining air superiority throughout the match.
Absolutely, and in that first Wraith engagement, even though BoxeR had the cloak and Tossgirl didn't, Tossgirl was quick with the scan, and it ended up being a 1-for-1 Wraith trade. So Tossgirl came out ahead in that first dogfight, but
Right.
the subsequent ones, BoxeR just took a lead and just did not let go.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing that establishes most of the really truly great StarCraft players, that once you give an advantage to these guys, and that's it. It's just going to play out, however slowly. From that point, you just cannot recover from gigantic mistakes. I mean, it is what it is, and it's pretty much just going to play out naturally at that point.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's really a hallmark of a lot of good players. A lot of the really good players, they will consolidate an advantage and slowly grow it and slowly choke their opponent out, while lesser players will get an advantage and then just try to end the game right away. But in doing so, they risk losing that advantage and the game along with it. The better players just go for that more secure, conservative style of play.